Greetings, everyone. Welcome back. It's Vin Ho of internationalvin.com. So, why are tariffs a bad idea? So, let's recap real quickly what a tariff is. It is a tax on imported goods into the United States. So, when Donald Trump adds a 25% tariff on Mexican or Canadian goods and 20% on Chinese goods, those products that come into the United States are now dutied, and then they have to be paid at a higher tariff. And the people that pay for that are not the foreign companies or not the foreign countries that pay for that, but in fact, it's the domesticated American importer. So, for example, if you're a Costco, a Walmart, a Target, or any of those big companies, or even smaller importers that buy product and send them into the United States, the container comes from Asia or from somewhere else, and it comes to most likely Long Beach, California on the West Coast or other ports in America. So when it arrives at the port, and then there's a duty that must be paid on the total value of the shipment of goods, and the importer must now pay that. So if it was, $10,000 for the container, now it's going to be $12,500 US. So now it's more expensive, and then the importer is now going to turn around and then sell those goods at a higher price. So in fact, the American people, you and I, will now have to pay a higher price for goods. So that is the main reason why tariffs aren't a good idea. And then what makes things worse is the retaliatory tariffs that we're seeing. For example, the European Union, Canada, and Mexico are now saying that they want to increase any tariffs for American goods that enter their countries. And so that's a bad situation because that's a bad idea because in China, tariffs are increasing for American goods that come into China. So our farmers, our farm equipment, or our services are now going to be tariffed at a higher rate. So that means they're going to be less of that. So that's not a good situation at all. So it's a no-win situation and no one comes out ahead. An example of this is we can look back when Donald Trump in 2018 increased tariffs on Chinese goods. And so China retaliated with their own tariffs on farm equipment and soybeans and corn. So a lot of the America's heartland were devastated by that. So they lost a lot of business, and then the American government had to step in and actually had to give out payments to these American farmers. And then, of course, we're still buying Chinese goods today, even though they're more expensive. So the American consumers are still paying higher prices for those Chinese-made goods. We can't produce everything in America. We can't make a lot of TVs or like keyboards or furniture or simple bicycles or anything like that. It's just cheaper and more efficient to outsource it and make it abroad and then bring it into the United States. And despite those higher tariffs, I don't believe there's many manufacturers or companies moving back to the U.S. There might be isolated cases, yes, but they're few and far between. For the most part, Costco, Target, Walmart, all those places are still buying and still sourcing from China. And if they aren't, they're looking to other countries such as Vietnam and other low-cost manufacturing countries. So it's not ideal, and it's not very easy, and we're not seeing much benefit from that, from the higher tariffs. Of course, the U.S. might bring in more money, the Treasury, but we're talking about at the expense of the American people, you and I, everyday people that buy goods that we need to use every day. So that's why tariffs are not a good idea. And I think we're going to see big problems coming up, assuming that tariffs are still in place for the remainder of the year. For example, I think things will get really bad this summer, and by the end of the year, I'm thinking about maybe the economy definitely slowing down and a recession could be taking place. So that's it for now. Thank you very much.